Jiho was completely engrossed on the screen, eliminating cheating nudes one by one. It had been a while since he was this focused on a single objective. Every move he made exuded a force and skill level that not everyone could achieve. After all, it had been a while since he felt this sensation. A single counterattack that wiped out a row of cheaters and boosters was only possible with his skill. It reminded him of his days with one sword. His profile was not complete yet, but had the potential to be a perfect combo machine. Jin-Ah was ranked 2 back then, and she kept nagging him about how he wouldn't get another chance to return to the servers. But with a name like Spiro, maxed out speed, acceleration, and control stats, young grade school Jiho was convinced that he had found the way to go. This was the debut of his venture into One Sword's brutal hack arena. He couldn't help but tear up a little at the thought of hackers. It just meant that his beloved game was not dead yet. As soon as he spawned with his newly created character, the chaos of hackers going at it greeted him. All these people in front of him were cheaters ruining the game for others. This would be his first time facing and playing against these types of shameful players. Instead of feeling nervous, he felt confident that he would not lose. He wanted his entry into the fray to start with a bang, and it really did. Thanks to his newly invented character configuration, his speed was enough to make him move at supersonic speeds. He was going to go all out against these nudes resorting to hacking. This was the initial stage of the current-day Spiro. He was playing at a gaming cafe, so the frame rate was noticeably better than his home PC. Falling in love with the performance of this computer, he had a dream of owning his own gaming cafe one day. Faced with different shapes, sizes, and builds from different hackers, he had to be careful until he got used to his new character settings. Even back then, he had always been a prodigy when it came to perfect timing encounters. His ears were so sharp that a basic attack coming from his right could not escape his hearing. That instinct was paired with his precise mouse movement and inhuman reaction time. As a result, it didn't matter whether 1, 2, or even 3 hackers came in all at once. He could easily hold his own against these skill-less guys. Nothing could get away from his sharp sight. Even foes coming at him from a tough angle were not safe. Jiho did not have any wasted movements or keystrokes when he dished out a beating, and if anyone came at him from a seemingly perfect angle, he wouldn't take long to prove the hacker wrong. Counter. That was the thing that almost no one in the entire server could beat him at. He was infuriated to see that there were players in this hack arena using an insta-kill hack, which literally took all the fun away from the game. So, it had been established that he wouldn't know what hacks these losers were using until he faced them. That might put him in a perilous situation, but the sound play had not changed at all. At this rate, even with just audio cues, this would be too easy for him. As he was thinking about that, foes kept ganging up on him from every possible angle. There was one thing that these hackers did not take into account. The more they attacked and pestered him to no avail, the faster his ult charged. If that was the case, an idea popped into his mind. He slaughtered everyone who dared to stand in his pixelated hero's way. The use of his ult, the super counter, was in a unique position. With enemies gunning for him at every turn, he could practice his ult timing as much as he wanted. And that he did. His signature green lightning bolt lit up every unfortunate hacker's monitor. He ended up using this cursed battlefield as a surefire way to perfect his ultimate weapon. Back in the present, Jiho knew that he could use the modern-day hack arena to reach the next level, just as he did back then. There were more players now than there were in One Sword, which meant the average skill level was also higher. To surpass everyone, he needed to find something special this time too. Facing these grim silhouettes of hacked heroes, he had to replicate how he found the super counter back then. These cheaters are not going to give him an easy run to do that, though. He parried the jester's swatter, carefully dodged the snooker, and skillfully ran away from the stomping foot. But now, this loser is going to unleash his ultimate skill, the trapeze. It seems like this one has absolutely no cooldown on his skills. If this cheater has a cooldown hack, then that includes a no cooldown ult. Jiho only has one shot with this, so he must bait other hackers too, so he can take them all out in one go. One key to this plan is spotting a hacker with crowd control immunity cheat. And sure enough, there are signs of what he's looking for in the middle of the battlefield. Someone is inside a massive spell, completely unaffected by its effects while dealing with everyone else. This one did not escape Jiho's attention. Much to his surprise, it was someone using a support hero as well. He knew that among these losers, there would be at least one using this specific hack. For now, he needs to try and bait this guy. He'll be using his moderate speed so the loser could keep up. But moving through the complete chaos of the battlefield is easier said than done. A tank hero locked onto him with relentless attacks that he needs to dodge. On top of that, the cooldown hacker still hadn't given up on taking his head. It looks like this would be harder than he initially thought it would be, but thankfully, the hacker arena is a free-for-all, and the two morons chasing after him caught wind of one another and started duking it out. Given the fragile egos of these cheaters, a single attack means that it's on sight. The Jester and the tanks are now wrapped up in their own dumb duel. You would think that a DPS hero with unlimited skills without a cooldown would easily win against an immobile tank, and at first glance, that looks to be true. This would be a done deal with no hacks, but the tank was not even damaged by that fierce attack at all. These guys are perfect for each other. Now the Jester is dead set on chasing after Spiro again. Jiho would welcome that challenge any day of the week. Every cheated strike from a skill was appropriately dealt with a parry or a block. Things have been going smoothly, but the tank from earlier is stubborn as well. It's coming to interfere. Before getting close to them, the poor guy was struck by another hacker, the invisibility cheater from earlier. First things first, Jiho must not lose sight of his primary target, a crowd control immunity hacker. It looks like there is no need to chase after the guy when it was already lunging at him with a double-sided blade. This guy is the worst. Not only is he immune from crowd control, but he also has speed hacks activated. Spiro was forced to skid and use his momentum to dodge attacks. As he was sliding through the floor, he heard some faint shuffles coming from his left side. He jumped into the air without any hesitation in anticipation of a covered attack, and sure enough, he landed safely from quite far away. Now, all four of the hackers are gunning for him exclusively. He must somehow deal with an invisible guy, a DPS without cooldowns, an indestructible tank, and a speed and crowd control cheater by himself. And to add to that burden, Jin Yong is still on the other side of the battlefield needing some assistance. His best friend is now facing two hackers on his own, and he's nearing his limit. Jin Yong is beginning to accept that this is it for him. Faced with two hackers at once, his sword rush days might just be over. Jiho was focused on juggling four cheaters at once, and he forgot about Jin Yong. He tried to jump in to help his friend, but these losers won't let him off that easily. It looks like they want to experience how a god gets serious. I know I shouldn't, but I feel bad for these hackers. He can go about this as he used to, but this time he's not alone anymore. With the crackle of his green lightning bolt, he's certain that he can do this. Even with their unfair hacks, the movements of these idiots are still predictable since they're all targeting him. He could try going around them through the safest route, but that would be pointless if Jin Yong can't hold out until then. It looks like he has no other choice. He has to cut through the middle and use the Jester to his advantage. And so he did not waste a single second to do just that. Spiro's well-known speed is on full display with his fearless rush. Even the cheaters had a hard time keeping up with his quick charge. Jester and he are now about to violently collide with each other. But Jiho's aim for now is just to bait out this moron's ultimate, even just for a second. Without taking the fight head-on, he changed his trajectory at the last second, leaving the hacker to hit nothing but air. Spiro gave the cheater a challenging stare as he skidded past the enemies. This is exactly what he wanted. Everything has been set up perfectly for him. He did not have any hacks on, but he can see the incoming attack trajectory as clear as day. And sure enough, the Jester unleashed his ultimate skill again, the trapeze. With this predictable progression, Jiho can easily protect Jin Yong at the same time. Deciding that now would be optimal time to move, he activated his own ultimate skill as well. His movement remains the same as when he killed new cheaters in one sword. His dash still leaves those who play with speed hacks on to shame. And most of all, his sense of timing is the greatest out of everyone in this game, hacker or not. Jester was full of himself. He thinks that with his ult, this fight would have a foregone conclusion. He activated trapeze with the confidence of a glorious victory. But unbeknownst to the loser, this is precisely what Jiho wanted. His godly natural feel for the game kicked in while he was about to collide with the hacker. It was like he was transported back to the days of one sword with no fancy graphics and minimal effects. Everything was broken down pixel by pixel. He felt it in his bones, the explosion of his super counter that none could ever duplicate. Jiho felt like he was that grade school kid once again, perfectly dealing with everything and everyone coming his way. It was just him and the spark of his Spiro against the world. He can almost feel the pixels of the enemy's incoming attack, even if it was tainted with hacks. And in response, he also deployed his fearsome signature skill. This is why he loves games like One Sword and Sword Rush. Pulling off difficult moves like this gives him pure joy. His super counter icon lit up, signaling the end for these hacking frauds. Spiro gladly welcomed the incoming trapeze with the counter to end all counters. It is almost difficult to believe that this tiny hero with such a low pick rate can pull off something this godlike. These hackers better get used to their monitors turning into the hue of his green lightning, because this color signifies certain death when you face Jiho and his Spiro, and that deathly shade completely swallowed up the overconfident hacking jester. There was an attack that compresses the force that the user receives and pushes it to its highest offensive limit, the super counter. In its most extreme form, the enemy would be swallowed by a flash of immeasurable light that erases everything. Under this fearsome technique at point-blank range, there's nothing else you can do but succumb. This is the ultimate finisher that would end every other finisher. This is the culmination of Jiho's genius, in a sense. This is his magnum opus. Super Counter's force is so strong that it destroys a certain section of the hacker arena itself. This tiny map rumbled under the force of someone that does not even need to cheat to exhibit this level of destruction. When used successfully, the Super Counter stuns all enemies. Right now, every enemy gunning for him has either died or has been stunned. 20 minutes remain, and there are 191 players left. Jiho leisurely walked through the aftermath of his devastation, as if these hackers are nothing to him. They are not dead yet, but they might as well be if they are in this condition against pure skills and no cheats. He called out to Jin Yong to come over to his side while the enemies are still stunned, but there might be a little bit of a problem as Jin Yong has been stunned by the map-wide attack too. It looks like Jiho was so engrossed in the match, he forgot that this was a free-for-all solo match. While Jin Yong's Axa was lying on the ground, he asked if there's any crowd-controlled immunity hackers around, and there aren't any as far as Jin Yong knew. Once the stun wears off, every hacker in this arena will undoubtedly come after them. Until the match time ends, they have two options for survival. They have to either stay alive and let the time run out, or they can go with the faster method. They can just kill all of these filthy hackers right then and there. He asked if Jin Yong was up for it and if he could do it with him. And of course, the silver-ranked warlord was up for the challenge. Jin Yong might be delusional, but he's got the right spirit, even if it's easier said than done. Jiho gave his friend some advice. It is difficult to control movements with a speed hack, so all they need to do is jump to avoid those hackers. It's a simple solution, and these morons would sort themselves out. And just as he said, some speed hack loser charged at them without proper momentum control and ran all the way out. He even crashed against the incoming cheaters from the opposite side. 16 minutes and 51 seconds remain to deal with 164 players in the arena. As for the heroes moving at the regular speed, they usually have the generic damage hack. They must use sound play for effective dodges. It's better to buy time rather than try to defend against them. Jin Yong just needs to hold out a little, and Jiho will be there to come and deal with the damage hackers. With that in mind, the duo made it their mission to clear this batch of hackers out of the game. Jin Yong is surprisingly quick to implement what he just learned while his friend is kicking some hacker butt at an unbelievable rate as usual. One particular speed hacker was infuriated that Jin Yong easily dodged with a simple jump. He wants to go again with a full force charge. This time, Jin Yong might have to use his blade to block or parry, but thankfully, Jiho is there to teach the speedster a lesson. He deleted the moron in a single strike, using that unstoppable momentum as fuel for his super counter. 11 minutes and 7 seconds remain, and there are 101 players remaining inside. Seeing how Jiho runs circles and deletes hackers, Jin Yong was convinced that nothing beats pure skills when it comes to gaming. Every time Spiro locks onto a target, he tears them up and they drop like flies. It feels like the timer is counting down faster and faster. Back when Jiho played one sword, he just needed to kill everyone in his path. If that doesn't work this time, they still have Jinna to bail them out. Right now, every hacker on the map has caught on to these two teaming up. Every single cheater in their vicinity is itching to claim their heads right this moment. To make it worse, they are slowly being pushed to the edge of this tiny map with countless hackers. They better find somewhere safer to continue this slaughter. After finding a suitable spot, they can continue practicing their skills without worry. Instead of a deathmatch, this hack arena was more like a training camp for Jiho. 9 minutes and 27 seconds remaining, the player count has been reduced to 87. Hackers littered the map, waiting to get their hands on Jiho and Jin Yong. After cutting down tens of hackers through teamwork, Jin Yong is starting to get the hang of dealing with these losers. Jiho, on the other hand, has his hands full finding the most efficient way to shave the number of these morons. At times, Jin Yong's Axa would use his skill to catch a hacker off guard, and Spiro would then deal the killing blow in a perfect show of tag team technique. With Axa's blade and Spiro's fist, no hacker stood a sliver of a chance in getting out of this hellscape. Under his best friend's influence, it looks like Jin Yong is getting a taste of how it feels like to be a god at the game too. It was 2 versus more than 100, and that number is rapidly dwindling with every slash and dash. These hackers did not know what was coming to them. They just wanted to dominate some games, but now they were being hunted down by 2 normal players. Every one of them either went out of bounds or had their HP bars destroyed. 4 minutes and 19 seconds remaining. Finally, there are only 2 players left in the infamous hack arena. After killing the last one, only the tiny Spiro and the monstrous Axa are left. The 2 can finally relax and celebrate their much-needed win. Jiho just wanted to stay alive until the end, but they ended up killing everyone again. But much to their surprise, the arena is not ending yet. Of course, it won't. There's still the 2 of them remaining inside. So in that case, it seems like there is one other thing they must do. With a serious face resembling his hero, Jin Yong declared himself the demise of One Sword's rank 1. This kid kept on joking around when Jinna called Jiho at the right time. She did not expect that this guy would pick up at all. If he's on the phone, that just means they won the hack arena already. She's just realizing now that even after all these years, the GOAT still got it. Besides, he was all by himself back then. It became a lot easier now that he has Jin Yong with him. At that moment, Jin Ah attributed his hardships back then to pink undies. This of course caught Jiho off guard. He did not know what she meant by that statement. The mention of pink undies came as a shock. Jin Ah was surprised that he did not know what she was talking about. She revealed that the one who reported him for hacking back in the day was none other than Pink Undies. I feel like this plot twist is going to have another plot twist. Jin Yong finally had some time to sit back and relax after his arduous stint at the hacker arena. On top of that, he finally got used to the timing and sound play that Jiho had taught him thanks to this experience. Ever since he joined the team, he always felt like he had done nothing but receive Jiho's help. If he had one wish, then that would be helping his best friend with something for a change. Meanwhile, Jiho's thoughts were still reeling after finding out that the one who tried to end his one-sword career was Pink Undies. Jinna thought that the kid already knew and apologized for dropping a bomb. He finally regained his calm and reassured her that it's all good. She's not the one that should be sorry. He said that it's all behind them now, but his burning eyes were saying otherwise. Chang Yun is confirming their upcoming scrims with other schools on the phone, given that they are cleared for the tournament now. As soon as the call ended, he hadn't even placed it on his table yet, and there was already another incoming call. This time it was from the new tuber, Graf. The next day came, and they were back in Dana High again. Chang Yun came to the club early for a change. So Yoon and Captain Airy were already there, hanging out before training. He wondered where the screwballs were, given that they're usually here by now. It seems like they will come to the club room after talking with Mr. Yoon about something. As for the hack arena issue, Jin Yong has resolved it already, and they are with Mr. Yoon to talk about the people contacting Jiho non-stop. And as for the biggest screwball of them all, well, Yujin ran into some trouble. Speaking of trouble, the Jin Yong and Jiho duo finally arrived while bickering non-stop as usual. This kid Jin Yong had become extra conceited after his skill's explosive growth. Everyone did not know how to react to such shocking words coming from the silver-ranked warlord. He thought that the second years would not be around. But the ladies got permission to do club activities early. If there were 4 of them here, they might as well practice immediately. When Chang Yun asked Jin Yong how the hack arena went, this kid took the chance to strike a pose and boasted that they owned the hackers. Eri just resigned to the fact that Jiho is just that guy while So Yoon congratulated them. Chang Yun just wanted to confirm that they won't have trouble entering the tournament from now on. And the 2 happily replied that everything had been resolved. As for Jiho, he did not actually need to take on such a huge risk in following Jin Yong. Apparently, they could have easily appealed using login records, as 91 should have known this fix. Jiho did find that out later, but he gave it a shot anyway as a form of training to improve his skills. Captain Airy praised their efforts and the fact that they didn't come back with their tails between their legs. So Yoon is still amazed by the fact that they faced multiple hackers and survived with no problems at all. Jiho just found that the cheaters' actual skills were bad. It was just a matter of getting used to their cheats. And it was lights out. They just ruined the game without even trying to get better. So they deserve to be crushed along with their accounts. Chang Yun's headaches are endless when dealing with his team's recklessness. As for Jiho, there's still the issue of him not picking up calls. It came to the point that Gurav kept contacting Chang Yun instead. Jiho also wanted to discuss this matter with everyone. He's been getting too many calls to keep track of. In Jin Yong's opinion, he should just do a face reveal and get filthy rich from doing YouTube. But just imagining the high energy and high embarrassment level of that job is enough to turn him off. Even Jinyong can't see his buddy selling his soul and dignity for money. But that's beside the point. An invite from Guref should be an automatic accept, no matter what happens. Thankfully, Barvi is reasonable enough to prioritize practice instead of dancing on stream. But So-yoon also gets where Jinyong is coming from. It would help immensely if Jiho practiced on a channel with lots of viewers. Some people have trouble concentrating on tournaments with large audiences after all. Besides, they do not have any fans to support them, given that they are a newly established team. It's just like Guraf said, at this stage, there's no downside to getting famous. Not to mention, doing well in the popularity polls has a lot of other benefits that come with it. Jiho is still on the fence, and he might need to consult with Jin-ah before he does a face reveal. Just the mention of Jin-ah's name elicited a complicated expression on Ari's face. Jinyong, on the other hand, is tired of hearing that pro's name from Jiho's mouth. At this rate, it would probably become Babe or something. Heck, it might even become Jin-ah Darling. That earned him a punch to the tummy. Anyway, Jiho promised to pick up if Guref called him again next time. The doors of the club room creaked open once again. This time, it's Yujin and Mr. Yoon coming in late for practice. But the supervisor is late for a good reason. He's got something to share with everyone before practice starts. Captain Ari does not have a good feeling about this one. It turns out that the prestigious S91 finally sent them an official request for a practice session. They can finally breathe a sigh of relief knowing that it's good news this time around. But that's not all. Mr. Yoon has something even bigger to share with the team. Since they qualified for the inter-school tournament and started a collaborative project with industry leader S91, the principal has given them something special. He finally approved something that Mr. Yoon has been promoting for a long time now, the establishment of a new vocational course. That's why Mr. Yoon is the undisputed GOAT. This came as an extremely pleasant surprise for the team that wants to take their careers all the way to the pro scene. Yujin and Jinyong, on the other hand, do not understand what this means, so Jinyong is pretending to be excited. It's big news, but it is not that simple for everyone in the club, especially for So-yoon. This news came as a bit of a shock. With vocational courses, they would only have academic classes in the mornings and practical lessons in the afternoon. They will be aiming for certification from this point on. Since they're not trying to get into a technical college, they can focus on practicing for the tournament. The reason is that results would essentially grant them employment as pro players. They are lucky that things have been resolved at the hack arena before the course. They would need to avoid any issues like that once the review period starts for the vocational course. But it's also time to address the elephant in the room. If they form the vocational course, it could negatively impact their college applications. That brings Mr. Yoon to So-yoon and Chang-yun. These two would be the most affected by this caveat, and it is evident in So-yoon's face that she's put in a tough position for this one. Passion versus reality hits different, man. Traveling back a little in time, we witnessed the conversation between Mr. Yoon and the principal. The old man liked the sound of the vocational course proposal. This came as a surprise to Mr. Yoon because he thought that the principal would oppose it no matter what. However, the old man had some sense in him. A true educator would never stand between a student and their dreams. Their students had already achieved more than they could have hoped for, and it's only right for the adults to step in to support their journey. He was beaming with a bright smile after hearing that from the strict principal. However, once the vocational course was formed, So-yoon and Chang-yun, two of their most stellar students, should maintain their normal academic course. This was a massive blow to his plans. Neither of them spent a lot of time on their club activities, nor did they consider going pro in the game as their career goal. These two must be persuaded to keep up with their academic studies. Mr. Yoon proposed that they should hear them out first to see if they might have changed their minds about their future careers. But, as written in the reports, these two were just too accomplished to abandon their academics. Besides, they still hadn't settled on a pro career like the others. They could not let the thrill of the moment determine something that could become regrettable down the line. The life experience they possessed is what allowed them to be teachers. Good academic grades are a talent in and of themselves. If this is where their talent and potential lie, then they can't sit idly by as they throw it away for a gamble. They must be pragmatic when it comes to the students' priorities. As educators, they should not take the kids' future prospects into their own hands. The formation of the vocational course will be more than enough to show how much they care, but they must steer So-yoon and Chang-yun in the right direction of academics. But that tap on the shoulder made it more of an order than a suggestion. For Ari, this is nothing but an amazing opportunity to ramp up her pro career with the help of the school. But that's not really the case for their two academically gifted members. For now, the second years gathered to figure out what they wanted to do. Chang-yeon only did this so he could put it on his resume in the first place. As for So-yoon, she's still keeping the club practices a secret. Eri wanted to assure her that if she was on the fence because of the captain and the first years, then she shouldn't be. Just like Eri's aspirations to go pro, she understands that these two have their own goals. Since they qualified for the tournament already, they don't even have to worry about the head count anymore. They are free to choose for themselves without worries. As the captain and the leader, she's certain that the other members would feel the same. Chang-yeon was clearly bothered by her words. She pushed further and did her best smug Jin-young impression to get him to leave. This guy did not enjoy that, but with their futures on the line, this is not the time to be joking around. After everything that the team has been through, this is not an easy decision for the master strategist. Eri regressed her old self and lost her temper with her friend. This sucks for her too. She thought that their teamwork was finally forming something special, and now she has to worry about losing members after this. But Chang-yeon doesn't like the fact that she's talking as if their departure has already been decided. He's starting to lose his temper too. They're just sitting here and wasting time without thinking of a solution. It really is just like him to always worry about time. While the two were arguing, So-yoon was clearly upset as she excused herself to leave early. Seeing what they'd done, Eri quickly tried to apologize to her. Chang-yeon doesn't seem to understand what's happening though. So-yoon insisted that she was upset not because of these two bickering like usual. She just has to go right away. She's conflicted. She does not even know what to do when faced with such a big life decision. If there's anyone who'd understand her the most, it would be Chang-yeon. Back in Daniel High, it's about time for the first years to go home after dismissal. They too are contemplating what each of them is going to do from this point on. As Mr. Yoon said, it's not too early to start now if they are seriously aiming to go pro. But if they consider their careers, it's good to be on track since it's not too late for an academic one either. Besides, with grades like these three, it seems like it's a sink or swim situation for them. Just thinking about that thought is enough to make them feel a little down. It was just too real, man. So, in order to go all out, Yoojin has been thinking of something. From now on, every day after school, he wants them to practice at his place. This kid actually blushed while he was saying that. Jin-young was quick to criticize the weird vibe Yoojin was setting up. Jiho, on the other hand, could not help but laugh at the two. As for Yoojin's proposal, it's not bad at all. It's great even. But the problem is, how are they going to practice when there are three of them? Meanwhile, his phone is buzzing with calls again. Jin heard that question, and it was as if it was a dumb one. Of course, to practice, they would need 3 computers to properly train together. But for some reason, Yoojin confidently declared that the computers won't be a problem at all. He casually revealed that he has a ton of computers at his place, probably enough for 10 people. Tell me you're rich without telling me you're rich. Of course, the natural reaction would be confusion as to what the hell he just said and why. Yoojin, as self-assured as ever, reasoned that if you have a dream, you have to grind early to reach it. The two were moved by those words. Yoojin is now cool in their books. With that in mind, Jiho is now determined for all of them to debut as pro gamers. But Jin-young is rightfully skeptical. Even if you want to go pro, isn't having 10 computers on hand kind of weird? Just what is this guy trying to achieve? It turns out that Yoojin is not talking about going pro at all. His ultimate dream is to own a gaming cafe. Jiho still found that cool since he used to have that dream too. As rare and crazy as it is, Jin-young is the only sane one in this conversation right now. Meanwhile, we jump back to Guraf's extravagant house and studio. He has been ringing Jiho's phone non-stop to the point of trembling in anger for being ignored time and time again. He's nearing his breaking point, being treated like this. But instead of raging and throwing his phone on the ground, he calmed himself down and formulated a plan. He's starting to get tired of always acting as Mr. Nice Guy, so he started setting up his streaming equipment for a little show. He thinks that Jiho is taking his niceness as an invitation to ignore and step all over him. From the beginning, the kid has gotten on his nerves for some reason. So with his most effective weapon, he wants to see if he will be ignored after this. This is a man who is hell-bent on the legendary Spiro. As soon as the stream started, he put on his joyful streamer face and welcomed his audience. As for his stream title, it's a bit of clickbait. He wants to make an announcement when a few more viewers hop in. According to Guraf, there's a special somebody who needs to join the stream first, and just as he said that the guy finally entered the chat, it was Chang-yeon. He'll give his viewers a hint for his announcement first. It's got something to do with someone that everyone's been dying to see again. With a stream title that oozes clickbait of legendary proportions, he wants to reveal a massive secret that he happens to know. All he needs is his audience's curiosity. Look at that face. This guy is just sleazy to the bone. But, of course, in classic Giraffe fashion, he'll only reveal the secret in the next stream when he invites the player onto the channel. With his horrible streamer laugh, he teased his audience that he'd keep the secret to himself until then. The chat is roasting him, but he just deflects using their own curiosity. If they want to find out, they must like, subscribe, and comment. As always, do that for this channel too. After seeing all of this go down, it's a mystery how this guy hasn't had the crap beaten out of him yet. It looks like issues for their team just keep on coming. When it rains, it pours. This is what Chang-yeon was worried about with Jiho not picking up his phone. Here he was thinking that they already had an easy ride, but it looks like this is where the smooth road ends. Our master strategist is in a bind right now. Meanwhile, we can look at how So-yoon is doing in her cram school. She's attended like usual, but it's obvious that something else is on her mind. Her classmates have come and gone, but she remains still in her seat, deep in thought about how she should proceed from here on out. Her contemplation was interrupted by one of her classmates checking in on her. The lady asked her if she was okay given that she's been spacing out all day long. She assured the lady that she was fine, just had a lot on her mind that day. To lighten the mood, the lady invited her to grab some snacks on the way home together. She excused herself, telling the lady that she was actually meeting someone later. She clearly wants to be alone with her own thoughts, and the lady sensed that. She hides everything under that pretty smile. But inside her mind, a storm has been raging since Mr. Yoon's announcement. Everyone close to her feels that, and they are concerned. As she walked alone outside of cram school, she steeled herself for what was about to come tomorrow. By then, she needs to make her final decision. So Yoon needs to know whether to take the vocational course or not. The first years have probably made up their minds in a heartbeat. Their passion for the game is undeniable. Mr. Yoon's support is the best, and it's what they need. The feeling of victory is as exhilarating as it is addicting. And her good friend, Captain Ari, embodies all of that. All of her teammates are always so sure about themselves. They know what they want and what to aim for. It's giving her mixed feelings because that's far from how she feels. From day one, she only wanted something simple. So Yoon just wanted to make some good memories with Ari. But after everything that they've been through, it has become so much more than that. And the question in her mind is whether she's really helping the team by staying. Everyone is extremely serious about doing this. They are pouring their everything. She's not sure if it's okay for her to be there just to make some memories and have fun. This is a decision that could alter the trajectory of the rest of her life. And it's understandable why she feels so heavily about it. The light of victory or defeat in those monitors is just too hard to let go. So Yevon just wants to stay a little longer. The tears that she's been holding onto all day have finally rained down. It might be a difficult decision to make, but she wants to enter the tournament together with everyone. She wants to join the Day 1 squad to achieve their dreams. To laugh and celebrate the wins with them. As she walks the empty streets back home, her true feelings are laid bare for no one to see. She just really wants one thing. So Yoon does not want to go back to studying aimlessly. On a different side of town, a door opens to a massive room. Jin-young and Jiho entered Yoonjin's crazy room with computers and snacks like a gaming cafe with a bed to the side. Jin-young was right, this kid has some serious issues. Man, his ceiling has these star patterns, and he's acting like everything's normal. It's unbelievable that this guy still goes to gaming cafes every day when he has all of this in his own room. The PC-starved Jiho was just foaming at the mouth at the sight of this room. And as crazy as it sounds, Jiho goes to gaming cafes because his room doesn't have a counter where you pay. The two just nodded and agreed, fearing that this kid was truly deranged. Yoonjin continued that in here, there are no part-timers to man the counter, no drink machines whenever he wants a beverage, no standing signboards for announcements. He's basically trembling just thinking about the idea of a gaming cafe. The two chose to ignore the crazy host and talk about how they were going to practice. There is no gaming cafe interface to see how much time you have left. There is no POS system, and he can't even work part-time in his own bedroom. The Jin truly thinks that he's not worthy yet. He's not worthy to become a proud owner of a gaming cafe. Jin-young finally ran out of patience and shut up the locals' weird ramblings. Jiho was just enjoying the fun and absurd exchange. This kid still feels regretful that he should have perfected the room before calling these two over. He's just hopeless at this point. As they were having their fun, Chang-yeon started calling Jin-young. Given that they'd never talk on a phone call, he's experiencing some phone call phobia. To add to Yoonjin's eccentricities, he hates listening to vibrations and rings. He's extremely sensitive to sound. As for Changyun's aim, he wants to know if Jiho and Jinyang are together now. He wants them to check out Guraf's stream earlier. They quickly hopped on YouTube to see what was so important for Changyun to call them. After watching this clip, they must text him right after. So, they watch Guraf's sinister face threaten Jiho's identity blatantly. Jinyang watches this guy every day, and Guraf had a different vibe today. This streamer is threatening to reveal his secret for everyone to see. Yujin could not care less though. He thinks he's the only sane one in the room. Jiho did not even do anything to warrant this type of attack. For now, they must call Guraf to know what exactly is going on before taking action. Just typing the guy's number on the phone is already giving Jiho some bad vibes. It hasn't even fully rung once, and someone already picked up the call with a click. Guraf didn't even pause. That's how much he was expecting to be contacted by his favorite trainee after his stunt. Jiho naturally wants to know what's the deal with the announcement. Since it was so difficult to reach him, this trash calls it a streamer's method of getting in touch. Jiho lets it be known that this guy is starting to get on his nerves. He just wants to get to the point. Apologizing for pushing his buttons, Guraf reasoned that he was just lying with the announcement. Just a harmless lie to grab people's attention, nothing more, nothing less. The two on the other side of the line won't fall for that though. Jinyang chimed in and warned Guraf that his channel would hit rock bottom if he kept this act up. Covering his butt this time should be impossible. But if that is the case, they better come up with something as soon as possible. He has an idea for a video. And Jiho can either cooperate, or this trash bag of a human can just reveal to everyone that he was the rank one in one sword. That is some weak blackmail material right there. Mr. Yoon is stressed out. It's almost time for the midterms. This is the last session before they formally launch the vocational course. No matter what happens today, he must keep his composure as their supervisor. Back in that conversation with the principal, Mr. Yoon did not let the old man dictate what would happen to the kids. He wanted to consider the possibility of the students standing firm about what they truly want. He does not want to tell them that the time they spent reaching for something important was a failure. Seeing Mr. Yoon stand his ground did not please the principal. This guy himself knew it all too well. He was too late to give up on his dreams and accept reality. When he came to terms with reality in the last minute, he didn't know if he succeeded. All the time he spent chasing his dreams, he started to think that it was all for nothing. But he believes that their students are sufficiently mature to make the call. So Yoon and Changyun are both smart and passionate. At school, if nowhere else, he wants to teach these talented students what it truly means to succeed. As suggested, he will be objective when counseling them, but they must let the students choose their own paths. He's opening the door to the club with the conviction to let these kids make their own decision. As soon as he greeted everyone, everyone's face painted different pictures. Since he had to sort out some things, he got tied up longer than expected, so he apologized for running late. Now that everyone's here, they'll get straight down at business. The anticipation and weight of the moment were not lost on everyone. Mr. Yoon asked them if they showed their parents the handouts about the vocational course. Yujin is out here picking his nose and just waiting for the start of practice. Changyun answered that he didn't show it to his parents. Eri already expected something like this from this moron friend of hers. But lifting the given handout, he already knew that it's no mystery how his parents would respond to this. He didn't want to create unnecessary fuss. Hearing this reasoning, Mr. Yoon rightfully assumed that the kid is opting out of the course. But Changyun shocked everyone when he said no. This guy would be staying on the team and the course. And that's because he found a loophole in the system. Jinyang cannot wait to hear this tea. Jiho couldn't help but find their senior cool, and Yujin is still waiting for practice. Changyun wants to sign up as the team's main strategist. If Mr. Yoon is going to be the director, then they would need someone to take on the coaching role. From the start, he hasn't actually taken part in any games, but up to now, he's already been acting as the main strategist. There's no reason for that to stop now. This idea might actually work out just fine thanks to Changyun's ideas. Mr. Yoon can already feel the wrath of the principal coming at them, but it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. He wants to respond with as much passion as these kids are putting in. Changyun really is the weirdest member one here if you ask Ari. Jinyang has been officially converted as Changyun's fan. Jiho and Yujin, on the other hand, want to beat up their buddy for acting out of character. While they were celebrating that wonderful news, one person is obviously not feeling the vibe. So Yoon is not in the exact same position as Changyun. She's in a tougher spot than anyone in the room. And the team is going to need her answer right this moment. She mulled it over for hours and hours before coming here. But now is the first time that she's actually deciding and letting it out. She made her peace, and she thinks that this is as far as she can go in her competitive career. Mr. Yoon understands, and he already anticipated this decision coming from her. But the first years are still confused. They thought that they can just keep on doing what they were doing. Jin Young wanted to convince her even if it's because of academic reasons. She can even take on the manager role like Chang Yun stepping in as a coach. But she's made up her mind. She doesn't want to keep doubting and second-guessing herself anymore. Jin Young had nothing to answer for that. This time, So Yoon is determined in her stance. She wants to be sure about her decision. From now on, this bright young lady wants to find out what she's actually good at. The person that is the most affected by this news is, of course, Captain Ari. So Yoon went up to her and thanked her for everything. She gave the captain a grateful hug for all the memories that they've made, memories that she will always cherish. Even the sharp-tongued and seemingly cold-hearted captain couldn't help but break down in tears after hearing that. From the way So Yoon talked, you'd think that she was about to die or something, but she repeatedly told Ari to be gentle with her words and stop with the crassness. Besides, they don't have to worry about So Yoon. They should be worrying about the unruly first years. These kids are crying their hearts out for their first farewell, while Yoojin looks like he got nothing in his brain. Chang Yun understands that this is a pivotal and emotional moment for the team, so Yoon reassured them that this is not too bad. They'll still see each other around school. She also promised to come over a lot to hang out, so they should welcome her with a smile like always. Yoojin talked for the first time. He knows that the situation can't be helped, but he and everyone in the team will gladly welcome her back if she changes her mind. Hearing these words from the stoic weirdo made it feel more real for everyone. So Yoon gave her thanks for the team no matter how short their journey was. She loved every single second of competing and spending time with them. She couldn't finish her speech as the tears started pouring down like a waterfall. She had to rush outside as she could not take such overwhelming emotions. Everyone was left in the club room thinking about everything that they'd been through. Jigyong is still holding on to hope though. She wants to go after So Yoon. He's concerned about what she must have been going through right now. She can't even stand up straight with how much emotional pain she's feeling with this sudden farewell. Jin Young is just an inexperienced kid. He doesn't know what to do in this situation. Mr. Yoon stepped in and advised him to give So Yoon some space that she desperately needs. But before going back into the room, the teachers saw just how affected his student really is. So Yoon just had to make a possibly life-altering decision in that room. For now, Mr. Yoon will go after her to have a talk. He left Ari in charge of everyone in the meanwhile. Everyone is in a downcast mood after that series of events, and rightfully so. Jiho is frustrated that they must go through something like this. A few moments later, someone came while cheerfully walking through the halls of Dano High. These steps are coming closer and closer to the club room, leading the team to believe that Mr. Yoon is coming back. All their attentions were focused on that entrance. Instead of the supervisor, it was someone with a sweet voice that slowly opened the door. A cheerful blonde student happily greeted every gloomy person in the room. This young lady's attitude came as a shock to everyone. Looking at the sign of the Sword Rush Club, she confirmed that she's in the right place. Every member had the same question in their mind. Just who the hell is this girl? Chang Yun revealed that he called her over thinking that they'd need more members after switching over to a vocational course. Though it's just a big coincidence that she arrived right at this moment, right when a spot on their roster just opened up. She's low-key cute though. Mr. Yoon didn't think the vocational course would get approved so quickly, and he couldn't tell So Yoon about it earlier. But she's just glad that Ari and the first years are a step closer to becoming pro gamers. She doesn't want everyone to worry about her, given that she won't regret her decision this time. Of course, she would feel emotional, but So Yoon will fight through it. This is not the last goodbye or anything, but she can't help but feel like it's all over now. The young lady just got sad thinking about how they might eventually drift apart and forget each other. Mr. Yoon understands that this can't have been an easy decision to make, but if there's one thing he knows, it's that So Yoon made the right choice. Not because she chose to focus on her studies, but because this was her very own decision. And it won't be easy for everyone to forget each other. So Yoon was there with them since day one. She, of all people, should know better than anyone. Of course, she knows that. She just hopes that everyone will remember her and welcome her even if she can't visit as often. Back in the club room, Captain Ari is chewing Chang Yun out for not informing her that he invited a new member to the team. But his point is no one else has anything prepared as a backup plan. Besides, he did not need to report to anyone, not even Ari. But the captain is still offended, and rightfully so. At the very least, it should have been discussed with the team. But Chang Yun highly doubts that this young lady would have been open for a discussion. During their last meeting, she was already talking as if they were leaving the team. And for the record, he did not ask this new girl to come right now, and this is hardly the time for some team squabble. He whispered to Ari to stop embarrassing herself in front of the new addition to the team. They could discuss everything later. The new girl does not seem to mind though. She kept that smile while teasing the captain. But it looks like this one has some issues too. She thinks Ari is mad because she just looks so good. According to her, that sort of thing always happens. Hearing her talk dumbfounded everyone in the room. It looks like she's as insane as everyone in here. The new girl went up to Jiho, assuring everyone that there was nothing to worry about as she was not interested in people that are worse than her at the game. And from what Blondie has heard, there should be an entrance test to the team. She knows about the captain duel before qualifying. At this point, Ari is just seeing red. The new girl teased that if everyone has beaten her in this team, then the captain must be the worst player here. The tension is palpable between these two. Ari's rage is already boiling inside. She does not want to let this girl into the team at all. Jiho was trembling in fear, while Jinyoung is still mourning So-Yoon's departure. Yujin, on the other hand, shares Ari's thoughts. Anyone can talk and talk all day long. But the new girl wants to prove that that's not the case for her. That's why she wants to take the test. Since the local has opened his mouth, perhaps he'd like to challenge Blondie first. And the duel is on. The loser has to shut up forever. That's an easy deal for Yujin. He's quite straightforward. In a bizarre turn of events, this unlikely duo is about to engage in a contest of skills. Chang-yeon thought that this one would be a bit different when she said she was a transfer student, but she's exactly the same as the other idiots on the team. Dano High Esports Club might just be cursed or something. He wanted to protest that they are not just a club anymore. There would be no need for entrance tests. Captain Ari would not hesitate to fight him on this one though. This is her team after all. She's just itching to thoroughly test this new girl's skills. With how peaceful Dano High is on the outside, you would not expect how much chaos reigns on the inside. For the 1 versus 1 duel, Yujin actually picked a different hero. It's the DPS Machino, a hero that excels in attack, range, and control. As for the new girl, she also picked a DPS hero, Vixist, a glass cannon with all offense and speed with no defense. If this game becomes real, I already know which hero I will main, for reasons. Stating that Yujin picked the perfect counter. Blondie thought that her suspicions of this kid being a DPS main were right, but he just proudly blurted out that he's a healer. Anyone with a working pair of eyes would not have guessed that this guy is a healer. He was so locked in as a healer that he almost picked his main hero, Link again. It just does not make sense. The guy looks like a murderer for God's sake. She's starting to feel the weirdness of this dude. No, the weirdness of this team in general. And Yujin has the audacity to ask in what world he looks like a DPS main while rampaging with a charge. He wanted to take the first attack initiative with a downward strike. This is a matchup of a fast DPS with a short range and a slow DPS with a wide range. Ultimately, they are using heroes that require high APM and micro skills. And Yujin was quick to exhibit that. He canceled the animation of his downward swing halfway through. He's going for a wide swing from the side instead. Even Jiho can acknowledge that it would be difficult to predict this type of sudden change in pace and movement, but the new girl saw it and responded appropriately. Just from that first exchange, she knew that she was in for a fun match. But she still can't believe that Yujin is not a DPS main. She jumped up and landed a simple counter. If Yujin kept on moving like a DPS, it would be incredibly easy for her to eke him up. Jiho can't believe it. It looks like Local is in a rough spot with no outs in sight. But instead of panicking under the constant barrage, the maniac actually laughed. That's because he found a tiny opening where he could sneak his giant flail in from behind. Vixis was easily sent flying away with a hefty HP bar reduction. And Yujin is not done yet. Lifting Machino's mechanical leg, he prepared to use one of his skills. A stomp on the ground covered a large area that inflicted damage and swept away Vixis even further. She's completely under his domination now that a third of her HP has been deleted. From the start of that sequence, the new girl did not anticipate such an execution from a weird angle. At first, she wanted to take this duel easy since the opponent was supposed to be a healer main. But Blondie would not stand to be humiliated like this after everything that she said. This young lady won't play defensively either. She changed gears and is now trying to take advantage of her hero's superior speed. This is where she excels. Close quarters, relentless combat, kicks, and punches. She's no slouch when it comes to reaction speed as well. Yujin tried to take back the momentum with his attack, but she easily dodged it with grace and skill. Her offensive capabilities are truly outstanding. The new girl is not messing around when it comes to dealing tons of damage. There is also another thing that she does so masterfully. From the first movement, Jiho was the only one who noticed it immediately. Blondie is using her speed and micro skills to make Yujin wobble, basically an ankle breaker by messing with the kid's timing. This exchange has truly put Yujin in a bind now. Even though his Machino has a wide range, the skill he used earlier is the only one that can reach behind him. And the new girl clearly knows this tidbit of information with how she's moving. She's relentlessly attacking his back while his skills are on cooldown. Even in the eyes of a genius, that is a great strategy. But he also knows that local isn't your average guy, not an average player by any means. A decent enough or even a great strategy won't be enough. Enduring a barrage of attacks enabled his ultimate skill. And one thing he can do to tip the scales is to use that ult at the right moment. And it did not take too long for that moment to arrive as Vixis went in for another poke damage. She knew what animation that is, but Blondie might not have the time to retreat. Yujin poured all his attention just to get this timing perfectly. With this long ult animation, he needed everything to line up correctly. He unleashed an attack that mimics a batter hitting a massive home run with the ball aimed for the enemy. As soon as that ball of energy gets close to Vixis, then explodes in a massive boom of damage. Instead of panicking, the new girl just smiled confidently. She was not expecting that one. But still, her gratitude goes to Yujin. Taking that ult was enough to trigger her trap card. He would have thought that Vixis was just a girl wearing a mask, but that's actually her monstrous maw. Now, she's facing a DPS without an ultimate skill. On top of that, the aftercast delay on Machino is still in effect. It's now her time to shine with her hero's true capability and take advantage of a sitting duck. Everyone was surprised to see this type of advantage reversal in such a quick manner. Captain Ari was forced to acknowledge that the new girl's skills were not bad at all. But Changyun knows that the term not bad does not even begin to describe her. In her last school, Blondie was the #1 DPS. Yujin, the local, did great considering he played a role that he does not usually play. But it was not enough to be a skilled DPS main. Just as everyone was focused on the match, a familiar sweet voice called out to Jiho. Of course, it was Jinna pulling up to ask our boy if he was ready to go yet. Ari was the first to notice her arrival, and she was on fangirl mode again. The new girl was just dumbstruck in her seat seeing S91's ace and captain of the national team, Jinna Lee, out of nowhere. This is just another addition to her growing confusion about what is up with this weird team. Jinna went up to Blondie, and given that she hadn't seen this young lady before, she assumed that this one must be a new arrival. The new girl's confident demeanor crumbled under the charisma and reputation of the woman in front of her. Jinna wished her luck and to give it her best, but not to get in her Jiho's way. She might be joking, but those eyes are deadly serious. That is some big mommy vibes right there. The confusion in this poor girl's mind is just piling up higher and higher. Ari, on the other hand, is still feeling quite complicated about this relationship between her teammate and idol. Since they are almost out of time, Jiho and Jinna should be going soon. They'll be going out to absolutely wreck Guraf. Just the mention of that name is making Jinna's blood boil. Guraf is in his apartment hearing boss music right now. But Jiho doesn't want to go yet. They still have plenty of time. But Jinna is already taking him by force. They are going when she says they're going. To sum it up for the new girl, the healer looks like a DPS. And now, Sword Rush living legend Jinna Lee just left with that nerdy-looking kid. It makes no sense for someone new to this room. Changyun was there to defend the nerdy kid, though. That's their team's ace and S91 trainee, Jiho Seong. Having an S91 trainee in a club that formed just a few months ago is just crazy. This place must be in a manhwa or something. Captain Ari just told the new girl that she'll find out what this place truly is, welcoming her to Sword Rush Hell. Yujin remains unbothered and still waiting for the next game to start. Jinna is out here casually holding Jiho by his wrists like they're in a romance drama or something. He's still trying to protest that there's still plenty of time left before their appointment. She asked him if he didn't want to come with her if that's the case, but that's not it. There is something going on that is extremely important for him. He can't miss this opportunity to make fun of his friend for life. At first, Jinna was hearing crazy talk, but she also realized that for Jiho, it would really be a shame to miss, so she agreed to wait downstairs while Jiho trash talks Yujin. He cheerfully dashed back to the club room to deal some emotional damage to the local. Losing a 1 versus 1 should be punishable by a lifelong license to get trash talked. Jiho busted into the room, hoping that the match was not done yet. This kid should not have come back at all. The match just finished too. And alas, his one ticket to tease Yujin for the rest of their lives has vanished just like that. He had some time, so he came back specifically for that, so he can't believe that he failed to catch it. But it would not have mattered anyway. Yujin has the audacity to be proud that he got owned. He can always use the excuse that he's just a healer, after all. These first years really are hopeless. It turns out that Yujin threw the game after Jiho left because the new girl was too distracted to play properly. And since it's Blondie's fault for not focusing, they can just pretend that this never happened. Anyways, her perception of Jiho has shifted after knowing that he's a promising S91 trainee. She introduced herself as Chowon Lee, and she wants to have another 1v1. Jiho quickly declined, though he's got something important to do after all. They can just do it tomorrow. Chowon was kind of sad that she got rejected like that. Chang-yun had to step in and cut out all the 1v1 challenges. This place is not a dojo. That should be enough for the skill test. They don't need to see more. But Jiho is the only one to sense that Chowon did not show them 100% of what she can do. But it's clear that she's got the skills to back up her confidence. And if Arya is being honest, she wants to own the new girl so badly, but objectively, she's decent enough to get in. And if there are no more objections, they can ask Mr. Yoon to officially enroll her in the course. And the new girl should properly introduce herself to every one of her future teammates. So, in the end, Chowon does not even take the captain's test and she's in. It's also barely an hour since So Yoon left. She apologized for the late introduction. This young lady is Chowon Lee, a transfer student from Gil High, the newest member of the Sword Rush course, and she means nothing but DPS. That sudden humbleness was quite surprising, but she's talented enough to have been scouted by Cheonwang High and Busan, one of the strongest teams in the nation. She really is the real deal, but Chowon does not want that fact to stop them from showering her with lots of love. She also noticed that Jin Yong was particularly upset because someone just left the team before she arrived. But Blondie wants to make it clear that it's not her fault that So Yoon left. Chowon just wants them to get along, and she wants to be friends with Jin Yong because he's the cutest one in the room. Those words have never been directed onto this moron, so he was immediately put under the spell. Just from that single interaction, he imagined himself marrying Chowon. They would have a child together, and they would watch that kid grow up and play games like they used to. They will live happily ever after. He's just like me. For real. This idiot audibly asked her if they'll let their kids play video games when they have children. The cringe is real for his buddies after hearing that. As some of them know, Gil High only has extracurricular clubs like they used to. Chowon has her sights on becoming a pro, so she switched to Dano High right after the vocational course was greenlit. Everyone is aiming for the same thing, so they shouldn't start any rivalries. Mr. Yoon has a lot on his plate, so they must train under Ari's lead. Also, Jiho really needs to leave right now. He apologized for going out and promised to not skip practice starting tomorrow. Jiho forgot about Jinna for a moment, and she was really busy too. He called her, but the line was too noisy on Jinna's side. It's a bad feeling as to why it's noisy on Jinna's side. Right outside the gates of Dano High, a luxurious vehicle is being mobbed by countless students. They're all trying to get a glimpse of Jinna, the ultra-celebrity. They are asking for autographs and snapping pictures of the lady. She really is popular. Jiho can only wonder if he'll also be like that. In the midst of the crowd, Jinna noticed her boy standing at the back. She waved at him, and it was a signal that they were about to go now. Seeing her get in the car, the students are still confused as to what she's doing here in their school. Jiho is having a hard time pushing through the curious crowd with his thin frame. Some of the students recognized Jiho. They were confused as to why he was getting in the car with such a big name. They connected two and two together that it must have something to do with the Sword Rush Club opening as a vocational course, and that Jiho must have joined as 91. The public opinion for our boy is slowly turning around. Jin-ah acknowledges that after that scene, Jiho will probably be a school celebrity by tomorrow. He thought that the Or wanted him to go low-key, but it's not like they did anything wrong with a little flexing. And come to think of it, Jiho thought that he was only going with the manager today. Jin-ah coming along is quite a surprise. It turns out that she's been meaning to go to a diner along the way, so they could have a date while they're at it too. But something also came up on her end, so they'll have to postpone that date. She can't mess with Guruf either. Jin-ah hates to disappoint, but they would have been having that date now if Jiho wasn't late. The other manager is waiting in another car behind, so she'll be dropped off at that one for now. She deliberately exited from Jiho's side. This lady is serious about going on that date together next time, and he reminded Jiho to bust Guraf's ass when they see each other later. This woman's actions remain a mystery for our boy. An hour later, Guraf is faced with something that he'll have to carry every day. He was forced to make an apology video. This guy didn't think that he would ever need one of these, but here he is. He humbly bowed an apology for his wrongs. Even his chat knows that this type of thing would happen sooner or later. He wants to apologize for making baseless claims in his last stream. It was clickbait, and he was only trying to entertain his viewers. And now, since he's so sorry, he quickly changed gears and went back to streamer mode. He flipped the script and made it look like he invited the super rookie to the stream today. Jiho is out here wearing his Spiro mask again. He's still feeling a bit of bad blood for this scum, but now he has the manager on his side. It's hard to believe that this trash is the same person humbly apologizing earlier. But now Giraffe is scared straight with the manager watching over him like a hawk. That woman is not messing around. She chewed out Giraffe for an hour and continued to exert pressure. This series has some top-tier mommies.